Well, hello there and happy Vlogmas and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be decluttering a ton of products. When I started this year, I knew I wasn't going to be buying a lot of products and I wanted to focus in on my collection and use what I already had. Now that the year is coming to a close, I have a pretty good idea of which products I use, which products I don't, and which products are so old I probably should have thrown them away a long time ago. Now, before we get into it, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. I definitely meant to put on lip gloss before I hit record. Now we can get started. And that is Tower 28 in the shade Cashew, by the way. So I'm gonna actually start with the lip products because I have so many of them and I'm only gonna go through a couple and mention why I'm decluttering them. But here's just a few of the lip products that I will be decluttering. Look at that. Now, one that I'm decluttering for sure is the Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid lipstick in the shade Ashton. This used to be a favorite of mine for sure, like an everyday favorite. Now, I don't really reach for liquid lipsticks as much anymore unless I'm going for a very long wear look, but I do very much still love this deep nude shade that this comes in. This one is super old and I definitely should have gotten rid of it a long time ago. These two Maybelline lipsticks used to be some of my everyday favorites. One is Crazy for Coffee and the other is Almond Hustle. These again are super old and I definitely should have thrown them away a long time ago. This was a lipstick I picked up from Milani recently and I really just didn't like the texture and I didn't like the formula of this one. Now, I don't know exactly what lipstick this is, but I know that it's the shade 110 Luster. Also, the shade really didn't work out for me, so I'm gonna see if I can pass this along to someone who might enjoy it more. I'm decluttering these two cream products by Kosas. They're both the Color in Light cream products. One is the shade Velvet Melon and it's a blush shade with a highlighter, and the other one is the shade Tropic Equinox, which is a bronzer and a highlighter. This is the bronzer and this is the blush one. Now, tone-wise, I actually really did enjoy the blush and highlighter from this colorway. The bronzer here was not quite deep enough and also was a little bit too red to work for my skin tone. But overall, I really just don't enjoy the formula of these. They just move around a little bit too much. They're definitely very easy to work with and easy to apply, but I just found that they moved around on the face too much and just ended up being too much for me to be able to rely on. I'm decluttering this NYX concealer palette because I actually picked up the MAC palette that this is a dupe of, and the MAC palette is just way better. It is obviously pricier than this, but I think it is way more worth it, as in I get more use out of all of the shades that are in it, and the formula is just that much better. Now, one thing I will say about this that this has over the MAC palette is that this deep shade is in this palette, whereas in the MAC shade, it doesn't go as deep. It definitely is like 6 shades that are a lot more similar to each other, which is great for my color correcting and concealing on the face. But occasionally I do wish I had a deeper shade that I could use as a contour like I had in this one. This Revolution Glow Splendor Ultra Matte Bronzer in the shade Medium. Now, I actually have a review on this on my channel here, and I still like this bronzer, but a lot of other powder bronzers have come in my life since I tried this one out, so it kind of, got knocked down a little bit and I just stopped using it as much. And there is so much that comes in this component. Like, I hit pan on it and I still have so much left in it. So this is another one that I'm gonna see if anybody might be interested in using it, but at the same time, this one is also kind of old, so I should maybe just might get rid of that one. I've got 3 drugstore blushes that I am decluttering, and 2 of them is for the same reason. The first is this Milani powder blush in the shade Spiced Rose. I actually love the tone of this blush, and also look how beautiful that is. My issue with that is that it's just super pigmented and really hard to blend out, and I find that I have a very similar issue with this ColourPop blush. This is the Toffee Cake pressed powder blush. I love the packaging. Again, I love the tone. I love the shade, but I just found that it was too pigmented, just not as easy to work with as some of my other favorite powder blushes. The third blush that I'm decluttering is this Wet n Wild powder blush in Pearlescent Pink. I actually used to love this blush when it came in the square component, and I don't know if it's always been like this or if it's just the new version that's in this circular packaging, but I really don't like the glitter that's in this, and I love a glowy blush. I know you know that, but just this one, it's not really flattering on the skin personally, for me personally, so I don't reach for it as much. I don't even know how many times I reached for it this year, probably once or twice. I'm decluttering 2 bronzers, and one of them I'm honestly shocked I still have in my collection, and that is this Kylie Cosmetics powder bronzer. I got this in a 21 Days of Beauty at Ulta like 2 or 3 years ago. I think that this is the only product I bought from Kylie Cosmetics, and I was very curious because at the time it was one of the brands that was putting out shades that were deep enough for people of color. But this bronzer was pretty unremarkable. I paid $10 for this, and I wouldn't even say that it was worth that. I don't even know if this is still available. I got the shade Tanned and Gorgeous. You know, it's not a bad bronzer, but definitely not anything great. The L'Oreal Infallible Freshwear Bronzer performs much better than this one does. Now, the other one I'm actually really sad to be decluttering because I wanted it for so long. I tried to get it during an Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, and it sold out one year, and then they had it available again the next year, and I finally got my hands on it, but the shade just didn't work for me. And that is the Cover FX Monochromatic Bronzer Duo, and it is still just so beautiful because I have barely used it. But as you can see, it looks more like a blush than a bronzer on my skin. The highlight is just a little bit too deep, and it's just so annoying for me. Like, the bronzer is not deep enough, and then the highlighter is too deep. Like, I could get absolutely zero use out of this. And this was the shade Suntan Bronze, for anybody that was wondering. So yes, this is definitely one I'm going to see if anybody else is interested in using, because I for sure do not. So I will be passing this along to someone who I think will get more use out of it. There's actually one more bronzer that I'm decluttering, and that is the Milk Makeup Bronzer Stick, and this is in the shade Blaze. Now, I still love this product to this day, but this is very expired. You get so much product in the full size that I don't know how anybody would run out of it, to be honest. If I do decide to repurchase this bronzer one day, it will definitely be the mini size. So this is truly just a declutter just because it's expired. I still stand behind this product, still love this product so, so much. I'm actually kind of sad to be decluttering this one, and I kind of wish I got a little bit more use out of it before it went bad. I'm decluttering a couple powders here. The first are the Stay Matte powders by Rimmel. Again, I really love these, but these are just super old and I need to get rid of these. I've just been trying so many powders recently that I've had a lot of my older powders kind of just get shoved to the back of my drawer, but this definitely needs to go in the trash. But to this day, it's still one of the most affordable, good pressed powders you can find at the drugstore. Last time I checked, they were still under $3. I'm decluttering this e.l.f. Beautifully Bare Finishing Powder, and I mean, honestly, I pretty much finished it all up. But this is also super, super old. This used to be an everyday powder for me, and I don't even know if they actually make this powder anymore. I hope they do because this powder is amazing. I would use it to set all over my face in case I needed my makeup to last longer, or if I felt like I went a little bit overboard with the dewy products. I really enjoy the e.l.f. Camo Powder Foundation, but I'm decluttering this shade 425 Neutral because I got it to use as a bronzer shade, and I just don't really like it for that purpose. Now that I've got my L'Oreal powder bronzer and a couple others, I don't really need to use anything that I'm not crazy about. Now this one is relatively new, so I'll be definitely seeing if anybody near me wants to get use out of this. I am decluttering the Kosas Cloud Set powder. Now, I'm not gonna say that this powder is bad, but it just doesn't really do anything for me, so I felt like it was a little overhyped. I felt kind of disappointed by the product, and I actually purchased it before I felt like it got a lot of hype. So when I saw people giving raving reviews for it, I just didn't really understand it. I actually prefer the Rimmel Stay Matte powder over this one. Now, as you can see, I did not get much use out of it at all, so this is another one that I'm going to be giving to somebody else to see if they can get some use out of it. I'm decluttering this Revolution Soap Styler. I was really crazy about the soap brow trend when it first came out, and I want to say I used about almost half of this. But eventually I just got tired of having to spray the component with a setting spray and then go and put the spoolie and put it on my brows. And especially now that I have the e.l.f. Brow Lift and a few other products like that, I kind of stick to that kind of product when I want that look to my brows. Now, I still recommend this product if you're looking for specifically a soap brow product. This one worked really well. I just wouldn't repurchase it because now I have other products that I can use a little bit easier to get the same look. I'm decluttering this e.l.f. Camo CC Cream. I got about halfway done with it, but after I used it in my full face of e.l.f. makeup video, I realized I just don't really enjoy it, so there's just no point in keeping it in my collection. It's definitely not a terrible product, but I find it to be a little bit thick and then a little bit matte for my skin texture. I am decluttering my Glossier Future Dew that I used about half of, and honestly, it's just so old and I already hated the smell of it, and I would hate to know what it smells like right now. I enjoyed the Future Dew, but I don't think that I would repurchase it. Number one, because of the smell, and number two, it's a little thick for my taste. I prefer my serums to be a little bit thinner, especially before I apply any makeup on top. I've got this Laura Mercier oil-free foundation primer, and I'm pretty sure this was an impulse buy at Costco, and I never use it. And at this point, I can't even remember when I bought it, but I'm definitely going to be passing this along because I'm not getting any use out of it at all. I don't even remember how it performs, but I've got plenty of primers in my collection that I'm loving, so I'll just pass this along and see if someone else might want it. This NYX Total Control Pro Hue Shifter, I wish I put it in the worst products of 2022 video. I totally forgot about this. This is one of the worst products that I tried out this year by far. I got this to lighten up some of the foundations that were in my collection, and I found that I couldn't really get it to mix with anything, and it was just so watery and so runny that it was super messy to use. And because I couldn't really get it to mix into anything, it defeated the whole purpose of having the product at all. Now, I've heard better things about the Illuminator version of this, but don't even pick this up. Like, I won't even be passing this on to somebody else. I'm just throwing this straight in the trash. I've got two foundations that I am decluttering today, and one is the Il Makiage Woke Up Like This foundation. Now, I got a gift card to Il Makiage, which is why I purchased this foundation in the first place. Even though I took the quiz to match to my perfect foundation shade, I still received a shade that was just too deep for me. It's also a very matte foundation, which just isn't really my thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got a couple matte foundations in my collection that I love, but this one also not being quite my shade and also being super matte made me just not really reach for it much at all. I do have a foundation pigment shifter that I really like, but it is on the matte side itself, so adding it to an already matte foundation is just going to create problems for me. Now, I've got quite a bit of this left, and I got this pretty recently, so someone definitely could get some use out of this. Another foundation that I absolutely love but definitely need to get rid of because it's so old is this AOA Studio Buildable Satin Foundation. This is a foundation I still stand behind, still recommend, still think you should pick up if you haven't tried already. It has really nice medium buildable coverage, and it also lasts such a long time. And because it's less than $2 a bottle, you can mix and match to get your perfect custom shade. It's definitely one of my favorite products from the whole MISC website. I've got a couple concealers to declutter, and one is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh concealer. I still really love these concealers and highly recommend them, especially if you're looking for a light to medium coverage concealer. It has a nice hydrating creamy consistency, but it doesn't move around all over the face if you set it down. And I was using the shades Dark 180N and Dark 145W. I've got both of the different formulas of the Tarte Shape Tape. I've got the original Tarte Shape Tape, which I'm getting rid of. Well, yeah, actually getting rid of, yes, because this one is way too old and I need to get rid of it. I don't think that I would even reach for this as much anymore, even if I still had a brand new tube. I've kind of moved away from the super full coverage, super matte concealer, and now I just prefer a more medium or full concealer, but on the more satin side. The Ultra Creamy, on the other hand, I just didn't really like in general. It didn't have anywhere near the coverage of the original Tarte Shape Tape, and the creamy consistency was not really one that I could get behind. It moved around a little bit too much, and it didn't look very flattering, especially in the under eye area for me. Alright guys, well that wraps up the makeup that I'm decluttering for 2022. I want to enter 2023 with a fresh start. Comment down below and let me know which products you are decluttering from your collection. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.